Okay guys, so today we're going to be starting factoring, which is the big part of this unit and is the really important thing. So I talked about this unit at the beginning. I talked about how important this unit was and how the school thinks this unit's so important and that it's going to be a really important topic moving forward. And even more important than that, maybe for some of you, is that if this unit...
Excuse the interruption.
Sorry guys. Maybe even more important is for some of you is looking at if you are planning on going on to 20-1, you need to understand this part of the course. It's just like, I've had lots of students go to 20-1 and tell me that the problem in it was that they never really got factoring and they just couldn't do it. So you need to be able to factor. Now what we're going to do today is looking at this and sort of like, some of you aren't going to love it, but it's sort of an investigation into how factoring actually works. And I want you to start out by sort of, it's not guessing, but it's working backwards of what we've already learned, and working at being able to kind of do this on your own. And I find that if students do figure out how to do this on their own, they remember it much better than if they just try to memorize the procedure that was set forth by me. So just like before, we had those charts, right? Like when we were multiplying out binomials. Because this process is actually just the opposite, going backwards of multiplying binomials. That's what this is like working backwards. Okay, so this is our answer that we would get in our multiplying binomials. So remember, you know, when we were multiplying binomials, if we were multiplying something like x plus 3 and x plus 5, right, we had our chart that we were drawing where we would have x and 5 and 3, and then we get x squared, 5x, 3x, 15. So our final answer is x squared plus 15x plus 15. Oh, sorry, not 15x. 8x. 8x plus 15. Now this, what I'm being given here, is similar to that answer that I got down there. Okay, it's like it's given me the answer, and I need to figure out how to put it in the boxes. Okay, which is kind of difficult. It's not an easy task. But what we know, right, is we know that the first term here, x squared, has to go into the first box. So here, the first term, 2x squared, needs to go into the first box as well. So that's 2x squared right there. Okay, so we can see that that has to go. Now, the other thing we know is that the last term, 15 in this case, had to go into the last box. So here we have 12 that has to go into the last box. Now this is the hard part, because we don't know what is going to have to go in those middle two boxes. Okay, it's kind of a hard thing to come up with what goes in the middle two boxes. But what do we know about it? What we do know, like here, right, we got 8. How did we get 8? We got 8 because 5 and 3 make 8. That's why we got it. When they add them together, they make 8. So here, we know that those two boxes have to add up to what? 11. They have to add up to 11. So we know they have to add up to 11, but we don't know how they add up to 11, right? There's lots of ways we can add up to 11. We could add up 1 and 10. We could add up 2 and 9, 2 and 8, and so forth. But even worse than that is it could involve negatives. Like we could add like 13 and negative 2. And get 11. So there's actually like endless possibilities for that. So we got to kind of think about it a little bit more. Okay. Now, but let's start thinking about our box. So on the outside of our box, like in this one here, we had x and x make x squared. Okay. Well, there's not that many possibilities for what can multiply together to give me 2x squared. 2x squared, there's actually only one combination of things that can give me 2x squared. Okay. The only combination of things that can give me 2x squared is 2x. The only combination of things is 2x and x. That's the only way. Nothing else is going to make 2x squared. So I know already it's 2x and x. Now these last two numbers that go in here and here, okay, those numbers, what do I know about them? Well, I know that they have to add up, or sorry, multiply to 12. The same way that the 5 and the 3 had to multiply to 15. So what are the possibilities? Okay? And this is really, I know it's going to be frustrating for some of you because this is hard, and it's going to take some guessing and checking and stuff that people don't like. But you need to try to do it. You need to try your best, because factoring, a lot of factoring is just about your number sense. And for a lot of you, it's going to be about guessing and checking until things work. Okay, so 12, we have 1 and 12. 2 and 6, 3 and 4. So those are the possible numbers that can go here and here. It could be 3 and 4. It could be 2 and 6. It could be 6 and 2. Like we could go split up which direction we go put them in. Okay, so there's lots of different choices here, which makes it, a little hard. So you kind of have to try it out and see what happens. Okay, so there's going to be some erasing here, which is a little frustrating for some people. I know people don't like to erase. But say I put 1 and 12. Okay, say I put 1 and 12. Okay, now I could fill in the other boxes tentatively. Actually, here, I'll even put it in red to show that it's just tentative. Okay, we have 1 and 12. And if I fill in these boxes tentatively, then I'd get 2x and 12x. Now, what does 2x and 12x make? It makes 14x, which is not 11. Remember, our goal is to get 11. We need to get 11. So that didn't work. So 2x and 12x did not work. Or, sorry, 1 and 12 did not work there. Now, it could instead, there's lots of choices. It could instead be 12 and 1. And then here I'd get 24x and x, and that makes 25x. That's even worse. Okay, like that's a worse situation there. Okay, and I can just keep going. I can try 2 and 6. I can try it out, and I'm going to try them all just to show you how this works. And you can start doing this in your head instead of writing it down. But if I put 2 and 6, I get 4x and 6x, and that makes 10x, which is again really close, but no cigar, didn't work. Okay, so maybe I try 3 and 4. Okay, and this could take you quite a while. You could try lots of things here. So it's 3 and 4 makes 6 x and 4x. Oh, again, 10, so close, but no cigar. What if I switch them around? So it's 4 and 3. So 3 and 4 like that. Now I get 8x and 3x. Well, 8x and 3x add up to 11. So I did it. Yeah, I've done it. Now the answer here, because it's the opposite of what we did before, my answer is the initial thing that, here my answer would have been, in the first question, this is my answer that I'm looking for. I'm looking for that thing in the brackets. So here my answer is 2x plus 3, because that's what's down the side, and x plus 4. It's the two things here and here. Okay, so that's my answer that I want. That's what I'm going for here. I'm trying to get this answer. Now, how could I check that answer? Well, really easily, because we've already learned how to multiply these things. So if I multiply this out, if I go like this and multiply it out the way we've been practicing, I get 2x squared plus 4x plus 8x plus 3x plus 12, and that makes 2x squared plus 11x plus 12, which is what I started with. Okay, check that it's what you started with. So there we go, it's right. I checked it, and it's perfect. So this takes guessing and checking. There is quite a lot of work to it. It's not easy, okay? But I'd like you to start looking for the patterns. And I actually often will just give this to students, but since I'm not there, I didn't want to do that. So I'm already telling you some of the patterns. Like, that number at the end, 12, tells you what the two numbers, the 3 and the 4, have to be. Tells you that it has to be something that multiplies to 12. And the fact that they have to add up to 11 is also really. Okay, so let's just look at another one here. Okay, let's do another example of this. So I draw my chart. Okay, and I'm like, okay, so what goes in the top box there? The top box is x squared, and the bottom box is 30. Now, a lot of the time, in fact, most of the time, it's going to be nice because x squared, there's only one thing that makes x squared. Same way that there's only one thing that made 2x squared. It's just x and x. It has to be x and x. That's the only possible thing. Now, the other two numbers have to multiply. The other two numbers here and here have to multiply to 30. So there's only so many choices again. 30. Things that multiply to 30. I have 1 and 30. I have 2 and 15. I have 3 and 10. 4 doesn't work. 5 and 6. So those are my choices. It can be 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6, 1 and 30. Now, this is going to be a little bit tricky too because my middle term is negative 11. So remember that I said these two things, this box and this box, the things in green, have to add up to the middle number, which in this case is negative 11. So they're both going to have to be, well, maybe not both. At least one of them is going to have to be negative. Maybe both of them is going to have to be negative. We'll see. Okay, so let's try putting some of these things in. So again, it's just kind of guessing and checking, and at first it's going to be frustrating if you're not getting it, but if you start to kind of look ahead and start doing it in your head a little bit, it becomes faster. So say I just start with 3 and 10. So I put 3 and 10. So I get 3x and 10x. And I'm like, okay, well that makes 13x, which is actually positive, so that's not good. But let's say I put negative 3, and then I have to put negative 10. Why would they both have to be negative? Yeah, that's something to think about. They both have to be negative because remember, the negative, whatever this number is, times whatever this number is, has to give me positive 30. So they're either both going to be negative or both going to be positive. So if they were both negative, I'd have negative 10 and negative 3, which negative 13, still not good. Okay? But at least now I kind of know they both have to be negative. So whatever goes there, they're both going to be negative. Okay, so 10 and 3 don't work. Now, should I mix, remember though, I put 10 and 3, or 3 and 10, or whatever. Should I mix them up? Does it make a difference if I put them in the other order? If I go negative 3x and negative 10x, or sorry, negative 3 and negative 10? Does it make a difference now? No, it's exactly the same. Because in this case, it doesn't really matter. Since they're both just x, it doesn't matter what order I put them in. If it didn't work the first time, it's not going to work ever. Okay, so I move on to the next thing. Now, maybe 2 and 15 or 5 and 6. Let's try 5 and 6. So if I put 5 and 6, remember it's going to have to be negative 5 and negative 6. I get negative 5x and negative 6x, which makes negative 11x. So that's the answer there. Now I make sure my whole chart works. Okay, so I do x times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. Negative 6 times x is negative 6x, and negative 6 times negative 5 is 30. So I have that working out there. So the answer, again, is what's here and here. So in this case, it's x minus 6, x minus 5. And I check it. Okay, that's the answer. That's my answer. But I take a quick second to check. I get x squared minus 5x minus 6x plus 30, which is x squared minus 11x plus 30, which is what I started with, so it's right. Okay, so this does take some guessing and checking, like I said. It doesn't take that long. Okay, so let's try one more here. Actually, I'm going to try 2 more, but let's try this one right away, and then you'll see me do one more afterwards. Okay, so here, right away, I put x squared, I put negative 14. Now, the fact that it's negative 14, that tells me that one of my two numbers that go up in those boxes, one of them has to be negative, because a negative times a positive is a negative. So when I'm thinking about 14 and what numbers multiply to 14, remember that one of them that I put in is always going to be negative. Now, there's only 2 options for 14, which makes it pretty awesome. Okay, there's only 1 option for x squared, which makes it even more awesome. So that has to be, there's only 1 choice. It has to be x and x. Okay, that's the only choice that we have, which is awesome. Now, the only choices here are either 1 and 14 or 2 and 7. Now, I'm not saying 1 and 14 would never be the answer, but it kind of seems like it's not in this case. right away. And hopefully, I'm hoping that as you do this, you will get better at spotting that. You'll be like, 1 and 14 don't seem like it could possibly work. Because remember that the middle two numbers, this one and this one, have to add up to -5. And I just feel like 1 and 14 is never going to make that happen. But 7 and 2 might. Okay, so if I put 7 here and 2 here, first of all, remember, I can't just put 7 and 2, because that makes positive 14. And I want it to be negative. But let's just imagine I did. So this would be 2x right here. Okay, this would be 2x. And this would be 7x. Now, 7 and 2x make 9x, which is not what we want. We want it to be -5x. So say I put the 2 negative. Now I'd have 7 and -2. 7 and -2 makes 5, which is still not what I want. I want -5. So that means it's going to have to be the 7 that's negative. So -7 there. That would make -5. It would work, which means that this 7 has to be negative. Okay, and there we go. This whole multiplication chart works. I should make sure, though, x times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x, -7 times x is -7x, -7 times 2 is -14, and it all adds up properly. So my answer is x plus 2, x minus 7. And remember, guys, it doesn't matter what order these go in. This is a multiplication statement. We're saying x plus 2 times x minus 7. And when you're multiplying two things, the order doesn't matter. Okay, so we have here, we have x times x, which is x squared, x times -7, which is -7x, 2 times x, which is 2x, and 2 times -7 is -14. Which is x squared minus 5x minus 14, which is what we started with. So we did it right. Okay, so we must have gotten the right answer. And that's how we do it. That's how this is done. It's a little, okay, one final one. And this one's actually, well, I mean, it looks hard, right, because the numbers are high. And it is. This one's a little harder because of the 6 in front. Okay, so let's look at what changes here and what kind of thinking you should be doing on a problem like this. Okay. And a lot of this is just practice. Okay, so don't feel bad if you can't do it right away, or if somebody at your table is better at it than you are. It's just a matter of practice. Okay, so here the big issue is that 6 has 2 possibilities. It could be 6x and x, or it could be 3x and 2x. Okay? And so you have to try out kind of more possibilities here, which makes it hard. Okay? Now, I'm going to stick with 3 and 2 because I find that it's more often 3 and 2, but you never know, right? Like if it's not working with 3 and 2, you need to kind of start again with 6 and 1, which makes this a hard question. It definitely makes it hard. Okay? It's going to take longer. So 18, this all the time you should be listing out the factors, the things that multiply to that last number. So here we have 1 and 18, we have 2 and 9, we have 3 and 6, and that's everything. Nothing else works. Okay, so I can plug those numbers in. That means that the last 2 spaces here, here and here, must be one of those pairs. So maybe I try 2 and 9, just because I just picked it out, no reason. Okay. I can't even remember what the answer is, to be honest with you, so I'm just guessing. Okay. I plug in 2 and 9, then this would be 6 and 18. They'd both be x's. I should put those there. Okay. Oh, that doesn't work. Okay, right? So, because 2 times 9 is 18, 3 times 2 is 6, 18 and 6 make 24, and I want it to make 31, so that doesn't work. So, 9 and 2 didn't work like that. Now maybe if I put them in the other way though. So since this is one where the 3 and the 2 are different, if I move the 9 and the 2 around, it could potentially work better. Okay, so 3 times 9 is 27x, and 2 times 2 is 4x, and that actually does make 31, so I found my answer. Okay, and like I said, once you get a little bit better at this, you can do some of this guessing and checking in your head. And there we go, there's my answer. And I multiply it out with my arrows and stuff. That's 6x squared plus 27x plus 4x plus 18, which is 6x squared plus 31x plus 18. Man, great. Okay, so I got the right answer. So you're going to have time to try this now. You'll have 6 of these problems to do, and some of them are hard. Some of them you should be able to do, though. Like, everybody should be able to do some of them. It takes some guessing and checking, but try to do what I've done here on the board. Okay, so start with that last number, figure out the factors of it, so what multiplies to it, and start trying things out. Okay, some of you, it's going to be like blindly guessing. If you're not very good at multiplication and adding and stuff in your head, it's going to be like a blind guess. Others of you, I want to challenge you. If you feel like you are starting to get it, or that, start thinking about the patterns you're seeing. Start thinking about what works and doesn't work. Because if you're good at that stuff, factoring will come easier to you. Okay? So some of you, it's going to take a lot of practice. So let's get going on it. Try your hardest on this practice, even though I'm not here. Okay? And thank you.